The peaceful quiet of the farmhouse didn't last long. By the evening, Zufishan's brother returned from town with grim news etched on his face. As he closed the door behind him, his heavy steps echoed in the small, rustic home. Alam Shah's men are everywhere, he said, his voice filled with urgency. They're offering rewards for anyone who gives them information about you two. They're relentless. Azar stood from the table, his expression hardening. How much time do we have? Not much, her brother admitted, glancing out the window, as if expecting a battalion of Alam Shah's men to appear at any moment. We'll need to move again soon. Staying here is too risky. Zufishan's breath caught in her throat, the fragile sense of security they had felt since arriving at the farmhouse now crumbling. But she forced herself to remain calm. Panic would only make them easier targets. We'll keep moving, she said firmly, her voice carrying a quiet strength. As long as we're together, we'll find a way. Azar's eyes softened as he took her hand, his grip firm yet reassuring. We will, he said. But we need to be careful. Alam Shah is desperate, and that makes him dangerous. Her brother nodded. I'll keep watch tonight. If there's any sign of them nearby, I'll wake you immediately. The hours crept by, the weight of impending danger pressing down on all of them. Late that night, after Zufishan and Azar shared a small, hastily prepared meal, they found themselves sitting by the fireplace. The crackling flames cast warm, flickering light across their faces, creating a momentary cocoon of intimacy in the otherwise stark farmhouse. Azar reached for Zufishan's hand, his touch gentle but firm. Do you remember the night we first met, he asked, a small, wistful smile playing on his lips. Zufishan chuckled softly, her expression lightening for the first time in what felt like weeks. How could I forget? You spilled tea all over yourself trying to impress me. Azar laughed, the sound rich and genuine, a rare reprieve from the tension that hung over them. And yet, somehow it worked. Zufishan tilted her head, her smile fading into something softer, more tender. It did, she admitted. I've loved you since that day, Azar. Even when I thought I'd lost you forever, my heart never stopped searching for you. Azar leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. And I've spent every moment since then trying to be worthy of you. The space between them dissolved as their lips met in a kiss, a union of love and longing that felt like a rebellion against the darkness surrounding them. In that moment, the chaos of their lives seemed distant, replaced by the warmth of their connection. But the reprieve was short-lived. The faint rumble of engines broke the fragile peace. Zufishan's brother burst into the room, his face pale and his voice frantic. They've found us, he said, his words cutting through the air like a knife. Alam Shah's men are here. Azar shot to his feet, his mind racing. We have to leave. Now. Zufishan grabbed the small bag she had packed earlier, her hands trembling as adrenaline coursed through her veins. Azar took her hand, leading her toward the back door as her brother moved to block the front entrance, hoping to delay their pursuers. The sound of voices and heavy footsteps grew louder as they slipped out into the cold night. The farmhouse's backyard opened onto a dense forest, its towering trees stretching up into the starry sky like silent sentinels. Stay close, Azar whispered, his grip on Zufishan's hand tightening. They moved quickly but carefully, their breaths visible in the cool air as they wove through the underbrush. The crunch of leaves beneath their feet seemed deafening against the stillness of the forest. Behind them, the distant shouts of Alam Shah's men grew louder. Zufishan's heart pounded in her chest, each step forward feeling like a race against time. As they reached a small clearing, Azar paused to catch his breath. Zufishan turned to him, her voice trembling. "What now?" Before Azar could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. The moonlight revealed Alam Shah, his face twisted in fury and triumph. "Going somewhere," he sneered, his voice cutting through the night like a blade. Zufishan froze, her breath hitching. Azar stepped in front of her, his body shielding hers as he faced Alam Shah. "This ends here," Azar said, his voice low and dangerous. Alam Shah let out a dark chuckle, his hand resting on the pistol holstered at his side. "You think you've won," he taunted. "You've taken what's mine, Azar. Did you really think I'd let you walk away?" Zufishan stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "I was never yours, Alam Shah. You can take everything from me, but you'll never have my heart." Her words seemed to ignite something in Alam Shah, his smirk disappearing as his face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful." Before he could finish, the sound of a whistle pierced the air. Moments later, police officers emerged from the trees, their weapons drawn. Inspector Naeem stepped forward, his expression calm but commanding. "It's over, Alam Shah," he said. "We have enough evidence to bring you in. Don't make this harder on yourself." Alam Shah's eyes darted around, realizing he was surrounded. His hand hovered over his pistol, but he hesitated. Finally, with a growl of frustration, he raised his hands in surrender. Zufishan's knees nearly buckled as relief washed over her. Azar caught her, his arms wrapping around her protectively. "It's over," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. As Alam Shah was led away in handcuffs, Zufishan and Azar stood together, the weight of the past months finally beginning to lift. The forest, once a place of fear, now felt like a sanctuary. Zufishan turned to Azar, her eyes glistening with tears. "We're free," she said, her voice trembling. Azar pressed his forehead to hers, a small smile playing on his lips. "Not yet," he said. "But we will be. Together." The night was far from over, but for the first time, the darkness seemed to hold the promise of dawn.